Part 3. You will hear an interview with Dr. Simons. First,
So here you can see question 21 to 24. You have to write one word only for each answer. So you can have a look on these 4 questions.
you have some time to look at questions 21 to 24.
The ancient Egyptian didn't have the problem of dental decay because of dash diet and absence of sugar. We have to take care about the which diet. Analysis of internal organs of mummies has shown that intestinal dash were common. What intestinal dash were common, we have to listen. Another widespread disorder was a form of dash. Which disorder? That the lesions of the lungs of the Egyptians must
Now,
be
listen carefully
due to living in sandy dash conditions. Which sandy conditions we have to take care of? That.
and answer questions 21 to 24.
Well, as I said, there were 3 areas of interest, so perhaps we should take each in turn.
Fine. Let's take the medical and physical evidence first.
Well, first of all, life expectancy. Although some very old individuals were encountered, the Ramesses is a case in point. He
Still they have not talked about the dental decay. Problem of dental decay.
was probably over 90. It seemed the average Egyptian died rather young, from about 30 to 35 years old, on the whole. Although the nobility, as might be expected, tended to live longer. Some of them have been found to be 50 or 60 years old.
They are talking about up to what age they are living, and that's all.
Well, naturally, the older they got, the more medical problems were encountered. But some modern disorders have so far not been found. There is no evidence yet of any malignant tumours, for example, although the fact that most people studied
They are talking about the malignant tumor. Still they have not talking about problem of the dental decay. They don't have the problem of dental decay.
were comparatively young could account for this. Another modern problem, dental decay, was also
Dental decay.
absent, probably due to the plain diet
Probably due to the plain diet. Probably due to means because of the plain diet. The answer is plain.
and absence of sugar. There
Absence
was
of sugar.
another problem with teeth caused by this diet. The stones on which their flour was ground caused a lot of grit to get into the bread, and this eroded the teeth, so much that many older people must have suffered greatly and could have been confined to a liquid diet. An abscess on the jaw caused by this kind of erosion may in fact have contributed to the death of Ramesses II. Analysis of the internal organs
Analysis of the internal organs.
of several mummies has revealed that intestinal parasites were common.
Intestinal parasites were common. So the answer is parasite.
Even among the upper classes. Evidence of a generally low standard of public hygiene and another widespread disorder
Another widespread disorder
was a form of anemia.
was a form of anemia. They have directly given the blanks and directly they are giving the answers. Was a form of anemia. Answer is anemia.
Naturally, the ancient Egyptians didn't smoke, but lesions on the lung
The lesions of the lungs.
were widespread. These, however, are the sort that we associate today with workers in mines and
Due to working in mines.
quarries, and must be due, in the case of Egyptians, to living in sandy desert condition.
Living in a sandy desert condition. So the answer is desert conditions.
Actually, on the smoking issue, there was a temporary sensation when traces of what appeared to be tobacco were found in Ramesses' sarcophagus, but botanists later confirmed that it was not in fact tobacco itself, but a related plant which is native to Egypt. In the meantime, cynics were commenting that it probably had come from the cigarette of some careless Egyptologist or museum attendant of the past.
Ha ha! And what about their physical appearance? Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 25 to 30.
So here we are having question 25 to 30 and we don't have to like know more than 2 words or a number for each answer. The fill-ups are the like average have height of both Egyptian men and women was about when they will talk about height we are going to catch the answer. Most of the internal organs of the bodies were dashed and preserved separately in a jar. Internal organs of the body were dashed. What they are we have to listen. The body was dashed in oil, resin and perfumes to help preserve it further. What they used to do with the dead body, we have to listen. Ramesses' nose, which had been damaged, had to be dashed. We have to listen about the Ramesses' nose. The priest of later times had moved and reburied Ramesses to save him from the dash. When the Ramesses' body was removed from the dash atmosphere, it started to deteriorate. So we have to listen about these things from the audio. Height, internal organs, how they preserve the bodies. Ramesses' noses, how it get damaged, why they reburied Ramesses, and when Ramesses' body was removed from that, which atmosphere Ramesses' body was removed, that it started deteriorate.
Now listen and answer questions 25 to 30.
Well, what would you expect from seeing Egyptian art? They were light and slight in build. The average height for both men and women was about 1 meter 60.
The average height of both men and women was about 160.
And studies of the skeletons from which the covering of flesh can be
So the answer of the 25th question is 160 meters.
extrapolated suggest that they weighed much less in relation to their height than most modern people. From about 10 to 15 kilograms, less than someone of a similar height today is the estimate.
And what about mummification?
Well, the first thing to be said is that it wasn't always done in the same way, and it was by no means infallible, as many people tend to think. Many bodies, including that of the famous King Tutankhamun, were also entirely destroyed by overuse of one or another of the substances generally employed. The basic procedure was
Still they have not talked about what they have done with internal organs.
much the same, however. Most of the internal organs,
Now they have spoken most of the internal organs,
including the brain, were removed and preserved
including brain, were removed and preserved
separately in a jar.
separately in a jar. They have directly given. So the answer of the 26th question is removed.
Brain was got out through the nose using a sort of hook.
Oh dear.
Yes, it used to be thought that the heart was always removed too, but in the case of Ramesses, it was found in place. The body was then immersed in a substance called natron. That's a form of sodium carbonate, which occurred naturally in Egypt, for 40 to 70 days. It was then
The body was
washed, made up and wrapped in linen bandages and placed in its coffin or sarcophagus. Then it was soaked in oils,
soaked in oil. So the answer of the 27th question is soaked.
resins and perfumes to help preserve it further.
You said the body was made up. Do you mean its face was painted?
Yes. Ramesses was not only made up, they had to restructure his nose.
Ramesses' nose has to be restructured. Ramesses' nose which has been damaged has to be restructured. So the answer of 28th question is restructured.
Which was damaged when they took out his brain. The investigators found that it had been stuffed with small animal bones and peppercorns of all things. His hair had been dyed too.
You said that Ramesses had suffered other adventures after his death?
Ah, well, yes. Poor chap. Well, for a start, he was found in a much later tomb than his real date. Along with a lot of other pharaohs, it looks very much as if the priests of later times
The priest of later time
had moved and reburied him to save him from tomb robbers.
to save him from tomb robbers.
His body was transported, along with the other pharaohs found in the same tomb, to the Cairo Museum. That was in 1871, and it was put on display. Well, naturally, removed from the dry desert
Removed from the dry desert.
atmosphere, his body started to deteriorate.
When it is removed from the dry desert atmosphere, it started deteriorate. So the answer of 30th question is dry desert.
And by the 1970s was in very poor state. That was part of the reason why the Egyptian authorities gave their consent for its temporary removal to Paris for study. Yet another upheaval. The French experts aimed not only to carry out an investigation, but were also able to apply the latest techniques of restoration and conservation, so that at the end of the study, Ramesses was specially treated and then rewrapped in new bandages. Well, they weren't exactly.
We have done with answer of 30th question. This time you have to utilize, like from last 1 minute or like 50 seconds, the audio is going on. It is none of our business because we have already done with the 30th question. So you have to utilize
Since they
this
were
time.
of ancient Egyptian date, given a new sarcophagus and carefully transported back to Cairo, where he is now kept in a controlled environment, which should slow down the deterioration process.
So, as I said at the beginning, not only was science served, but a proper respect was paid to the remains in the end.
Exactly.
So these are the answers from question
That is the
21
end
to
of part
30.
3.
You now have half a minute